được chào đón chị Alexis, giám đốc khối nhân sự Masterise Group, sẽ là vị bartender đặc biệt dẫn dắt cuộc trò chuyện của chúng ta ngay trên sân khấu. Xin được chào mừng chị.
Hello everybody. Hello. So, after a long working day, hanging out with good food and good drinks, with good friends, and discussing interesting things can also be a good way to release more oxytocin and perhaps some endorphin as well. So welcome everyone to our after work bar today. And I'm really very excited today because I've heard that 4 special friends of mine are coming. Are you ready to welcome them onto the stage? Yes? Can I hear louder, please? Are you ready? So first, please join me in welcoming Miss Nguyễn Thị Ngọc Huệ, General Manager of Strategic Human Resource Management, Corporate Communications, Sustainability and External Affairs at Aon Vietnam. And in a bar, we will have good food, right? So next, please join me in welcoming Mr. Nguyễn Việt Hà, General Manager of PepsiCo Foods Vietnam. With good food, how can we don't have good drinks? So on that note, please join me in welcoming next onto the stage Mr. Craig McLean, Managing Director, Southeast Asia at AB InBev Vietnam. And last but not least, a friend coming from a platform that many of you are familiar with. Please welcome on stage Mr. Kunal Malhotra, Country Manager, Vietnam and Korea at LinkedIn. So, are you ready to rock with us? Welcome to the After Work Bar again. Today, we are making a very special cocktail to serve all of our audience here. And the cocktail is named Onto the BANI World. Are you ready? So in the cocktail that we are making today, and feel free to take a seat, relax, we're at a bar. Each ingredient in this cocktail represents an essential flavor, just like the mix of qualities that leaders need as we thrive in this trivial, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible world. So, my friends, are you ready to mix and rock together? Yes? Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the first ingredient. How about we start? Usually people want to start on something sweet, but let's be different today. How about we start on a sour note and maybe a little bit bittersweet, yeah? So for you, my friend, what has been the biggest leadership challenge in this current BANI world? And what have been some of the complexities that have left a tangible impact on you as leaders? Maybe I will just go around the table and let's invite the gentleman who sits furthest away.
Super.
You.
Thank you.
Yes, right.
Okay, no worries. So for me, the biggest leadership challenge that we have is its clarity versus ambiguity. So for me, it's how to communicate, track and assess goals and targets in a landscape of unknowns. So today, out of any other generation, we are spoiled with data. And everybody talks about big data. The issue with big data is the way that you use it is by identifying correlations. And the challenge that we have is how you actually identify the causation in order to navigate the unknown world that we've got today.
So the lack of clarity and ambiguity has been pretty sour for you, yeah?
Yeah.
So thank you, Greg. Let's see if chị Huệ agrees with that, or if you have a different taste to
Yeah,
this.
I have a totally different challenges. Now we heard a lot about ESG, and currently in our country, we have to change a lot to adapt to this trend, especially those who have the exporting activities. So for the environment, we talk a lot, but what we have to face now, how to make the human sustainability, this is the new challenge, and this requires a long preparation as well as a huge investment in the human.
So sustainability is big for you.
In the human.
Yeah, which I think is also very important, because retail industry is, always having quite a huge workforce, and the footprint that you leave in terms of human sustainability impact a lot of people.
Yeah, we have a lot of human in the service, and we have the customer, so we have to understand the humanity from the staff as well as the customer.
Thank you. And I see that the gentleman sitting after you, Kunal, looks like he wants to add something.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thank you to the lovely host for having us here. There has been, in the last few years, I would say the biggest challenge as a leader is navigating the uncertain world and the uncertain reality, which is the new norm that we talk about. I think for HR leaders in the room as well, there has been a lot that has happened. We were talking about layoffs in the previous slide. We were talking about silent layoffs. We were talking about remote work, hybrid work. I mean, the challenges are limitless. But I think one of the things that has stood out of this entire thing, that change is continuous and it's happening. And that's one of the biggest defining factor of as a flavor, as it saw over the last 3 years. And I think it will continue to be, but there is sweetness towards the end of it.
Yeah, so for you, it's really non-linear, yeah? And I think for LinkedIn, you guys have the advantage of having quite a holistic views, with big data across different industries. So you really see BANI is really happening, yes. And I think what you say have a little bit of a similarity to what Greg shared about the uncertainty and how we should always be ready for that. Yeah. So last but not least, Anh Hà, so in the food industry, what have you seen? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. We have few challenges, let's say 3. So the first one is, I think, exactly what chị Thanh and the Alphabet team presented, how to bridge the generation. Because normally in the company we have Gen X as a leader, and then the middle manager we have Gen Y, and we have staff which is Gen Z with a lot of creativity, but how to connect these generations together to deliver the best performance. I think that's the first one. The second is how to break the function thinking or silo thinking and create more end-to-end mindset that really look at the total benefit of the business. And the third one is, in a changing world, right? So how to be more patient and stay positive when progress is slow. So I think that's very important.
Thank you, Anh, for outlining not just one, but 3 things that have made you pretty tangy. But challenges are set to be conquered. So of course, to counterbalance the sourness, let's add some smoke, right? So now we have the challenges. I would be curious to know what distinctive and unique approaches have you employed to respond and address them, right? So maybe, I know chị Huệ, you have a lot to share. I can see that in your eyes. But since Anh Hà lay out 3 things, that's a lot. Maybe let's start with him. So it's continuous.
Okay.
Yeah?
I think maybe some of you have watched Rap Việt, right? So we know season 3 is very successful. And we have the winner is double 2T. But in PepsiCo Foods, we have the triple 2T. So I'll share with you one by one. What do we mean by triple 2T? The first one is from the top. từ top. So any change, it has to start from the top. Từ top, that two T, right? Từ top. Second, it has to be from your heart. It's like từ tâm, right? Because when you want to change, it has to start from the top. It's from the leadership team to the top 40 or middle managers, and then going to the staff. But it has to come from your heart. And the last one is when talking about people, it has to be slowly. Culture need time to build. It means từ từ. So từ top, từ tâm, and từ từ. That's the triple 2T, and I think that's our secret of success.
Wow, that's very smoky, and I mean I love that, right? So it's all about alignment and role modeling, and then doing everything with sincerity, and then being patient. Because I fully agree with you that things to do with people and organization takes time. So thank you for sharing your special smoke recipe. Yes. And before we come to you, chị Huệ, I see the mic is ready. I want to pull crack into the conversation. So what's this smoke for you?
For sure. So at ABM Bev, we have a saying that is, we will face brutal facts. Now that's quite a harsh word, particularly in an environment where people are anxious. But basically what it means is we want to empower our people and create a culture of truth-telling. And us humans are very social animals. We're actually not naturally truth-tellers, so it's very difficult, because if you can imagine 10,000 years ago and you're living in a cave and you need a get-along to go along, and if you do that, then you can procreate and you can probably live. But if you're the village truth teller, you're probably going to get clubbed to death, right, overnight. So you have to talk at the organization about the fact that truths often, and the real good truths, don't want to be heard. And the reason why is the important truths are uncomfortable, they're awkward, they're exhausting, and they're challenging. And quite often also, people when are faced with truths and real powerful truths, they can get defensive, which is not the intent, because at the end of the day, any high-performing organisation, whether you're a corporation, a sports team, a political organisation, you need to have truth-telling as part of your DNA and part of your culture if you want to win it and if you want to have a competitive advantage. And you have to talk about the fact that that takes energy. And you have to talk about the fact that it's not what we're designed to do as humans, amplified here in Asia for sure, right? And it's okay to be uncomfortable. And for me, the best example of that is if you have a look at the science field. So for science, it's all about finding out the truth. And they've got a very robust process in order to find out the truth. And even in science, it can be very difficult to uncover the truth, because they come up with hypotheses, they test the hypotheses, they challenge the hypotheses. So for me, there's three things that I like to do within my organisation in order to make sure that we can make truth-telling and real transparent communication overall. The first one is that the most junior person has permission to overrule the most senior person if they have data. And that is absolutely critical. And there's a few things and a few ways that you can do that in order to make it happen. So for me, I always speak last in a meeting, for example. And by doing that, it makes sure that the more junior people are heard. And so I ask everyone here to make sure that when you're in a room and you're the most senior person in the room, that you make sure that you speak last. And to make it even better, make sure the most junior person speaks first, and then in ascending order of seniority. And that makes sure that you get full, transparent information flow overall, because no matter how high-performing, high judgment the individual is, people will change opinions if somebody that they respect, and particularly somebody higher in a hierarchy point of view, has a different opinion. And then secondly, I actually find that our most powerful truths tend to be hunches. So they turn out based on anecdotes overall. So they're intuition-based, and sometimes you don't even have the data, but what you need to do is you need to then lean in on that hunch and then actually go and find the data that can actually support the insight that you're looking to act upon overall. And then lastly, you have to fight inherent biases that you have as an organisation. Most organisations tend to have an optimism bias overall. So if you have a certain set of data that's got two different interpretations of that data, one is happy, one is unhappy in terms of the data, I ask everyone to kind of lean in on the unhappy one, even though it doesn't feel natural to do that, until you can prove that it's actually a happy one. And then that really helps us navigate the BANI world.
Yes, thank you. And a lot of what you said resonates with me. Because honestly, in a BANI world, we never know what will happen next. And there's no one-size-fits-all response to everything that happens. So rather than having prescripted solutions to problems that might never be the same, it's really more about engaging the whole organization to understand what the problem is and working on that together. And to do that, truthful and transparent communications are very important. And I really love that. And I can see a little bit of empowerment in what you say, because having junior people speak first, listening to them, involving them in solving things, and also empowerment. So that's very powerful, and it's very smoky for me in a good way as well. So thank you, Brad. Thanks. Now, chị Huệ have been waiting to share your views. Do you have any different views from what our gentlemen have said?
Not different view, but I would like to share powerful tools. And you, Alexis, you have already mentioned a very powerful keywords, that is empowerment. We apply, the tool is coaching. As you know, recently, it is a new term in Vietnam, but for the coaching already a very powerful tool so that we can empower the employee to think from their own by being the coach for the staff. We become the thought partners. This means that they don't have to ask permission. They don't have to ask the managers for the direction. So being the thought partner to our staff, we can empower, we can bring out the potential from our staff. And we know that now the new generation, they are very tech savvy, and everything, they have the knowledge already. So we no need to tell them from our experience. We have to bring the potential from them, empower them. And the very good skill in the coaching is we have the managers to have the very active listening. To be a coach, you have to have a very skill in listening. So by empower the young generation to suggest their own method, this is the way that we can go fast. And what is important is innovative, because we cannot tell 100% with one mind. So we have to synergize the skill and the mind of 1,000 staff in our organization. So it's also helped you to, solve the problem of the generation differences, because generation differences is how we help the young generation to maximize their potential.
So it's not about imposing our views, but really about listening from different perspectives, enabling them to succeed, and coach them along the way, right?
Become the thought partners. This is very important.
Yes. And I think it's very important to maintain the human sustainability that you have just shared, because these are very sustainable practices. Now, last but not least, who now has been looking very thoughtful in the corner of the bar. Anything to add on for you?
I think overall interesting chat. I'll just add a bit of, I'll probably speak about LinkedIn and then what I hear from the customers across. I think very similar thoughts. Firstly, we all hear the word AI. I think Craig also spoke about big data. But I think it's one of the most overused or abused words in today's world. However, it's very relevant at the end of the day. So it's just some stats, as Ms. Tan was sharing some stats earlier as well. 70% of the skills that are required to do the job today, by 2030, they won't exist. So imagine, and I was listening about empowerment, I was listening about trust. How many of the leaders in this room are actually investing in their teams in getting better? For example, when I heard about coaching, think about a football team. We are buying players, but at the same time, what are you doing about the rest? Everybody gets upskilled at the same time in order to perform as a team. But the more landscape that I see across Southeast Asia specifically, only there are few organizations who are actually going ahead and investing in their people. And I want to quote this thing. I think I was listening to Ben Affleck. There is a video that's gone viral around AI, and he spoke beautifully about that AI is just like craftsmen. And somebody asked him the question, context is, how will AI replace the whole movie industry? He said, AI is like craftsmen. It can only learn on the basis of the models that's been pitched to. It's the art between four actors that knows when to stop. So AI is not going to kill creativity. Your jobs are changing. Even if you're not changing jobs. I love the stats in the previous presentation across levels, burnout. But what are we doing to upskill ourselves? Because there will be tasks in your job which AI will remove. So I think one of the secret ingredients in any cocktails, sooner or later, is going to be resilient and data and AI. How will that impact you as an organization? AI is here to complement, not replace our jobs. And it's about time we as leaders embrace it and see how we thrive, then survive in the current world.
Thank you, Kunal. And I heard, an underlying taste in what you say as well, because it takes two hands to clap. And a lot of matters that we have shared is more from the organization and the leaders. But just now you have also reminded us that it's also about us. As leaders, as employees, as team leaders, we have to continuously develop ourselves and stay relevant, right? So then if the two things combine together, the organization and ourselves, then the combined effect would be very powerful. Wow, I feel like the cocktail would be very interesting now. It's time now to add something fresh and something minty, right, into the cocktail. So I have this question specifically for chị Huệ, because you mentioned about human sustainability, right? So strength and energy, freshness are very important to deal with a BANI world. You need to always be on, right? So how would you define what are the skills and the mindsets that our internal team should have, and how do you instill these across the organizations? So, yes.
For the team now, we focus on the, we heard about the ROI, so it means return on investment, but now the new term, this is the return on team, how to make the psychology safety for the team, because it's time for synergize all the mind, the skill, because not a lump sum, it's the whole of the team to make it bigger, not the plus, but it's the multiply. So how to make the safety for the team, and now we have to develop beside the coaching.
You mean psychological safety, right?
Yeah.
That
so, but how to make each managers have this skill, because we cannot, HR cannot do all the things. So we have to make each managers have this skill, how to make their team members feel safety to share and to multiply and to give their ideas, because now everything very quick. We cannot wait for the instruction. So the psychology safety of the team will be our weapon for the next few years.
Thank you, Jay. So I believe creating the right environment are the first and foremost thing that you have to do before you can do any other skill building, right? So, and engaging line managers to go together is what we need to do, because I agree, HR cannot do this alone. We are only the enabler. So, with that, it looks like things will always continue to heat up in the BANI world, and all of us can always use some cooling effect. And a gentleman here spoke about patience, từ từ, a bit earlier. So the next question is for you, Anh Hà. How do you keep yourself and your team calm and resilient when the unexpected strikes? So, keep calm and carry on is easy to say, but not always easy to do. Yes.
Sure. So, yeah, I did this exercise with some of my team. They are sitting there. And I think you can do this exercise as well. So, just answer maybe two questions. So, what makes you worry or demotivated? you can list down all the things that makes you worry, demotivated, losing energy. And the second question is, what makes you feel more energized? So when you start answering these two questions, you can list down few things. But sooner or later, you will realize there is own condition, right? It becomes condition happiness. I feel energized because sale is up, right? Or I feel motivated because my boss give me compliments. Or today I don't feel going to work because I have a bad day at home. My wife criticized me, something like that. Okay, and it's become condition. And when you, after like 5-10 minutes, you will realize that the happiness has to come from within. It has to come from you. And I like what Chị Thanh presented this morning very much. So find something that you can really control. It's like when you wake up in the morning, as long as you can open your eyes, all your bodies are there, no missing parts, then you're happy. You are happy. Right? So that's how you feel calm and resilience. And I think maybe one concept I can share with you, and maybe you know as well, that is Ikigai. That's help you to find the happiness inside. It's the intersections of 4 questions. So if find something that you love, right? So what you love doing, what you're good at, what you get paid for, and what the world needs. So if you can do something that the world needs, consumer happy buying your products, you get paid for it, that's what you love doing, and that's what you're good at. If you can do that, then it's you're happy. You don't have to worry about tomorrow.
Yay! Anh Hà, I really was expecting that you would say, go and eat some good food. Maybe buy PepsiCo food. And that would make you feel a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time I have my marketing director there, you need to bring some Lays to the event.
Yes. But thank you, Anh Hà. I really like what you say as well. Like really focus on what you can control, because there's so many different things that we cannot control in this BANI world, right? So that reminds me of a saying that you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. So really motivating yourself and ensuring that you focus on what you can control, and especially if you work in a purposeful job, right? The Ikigai that you mentioned. Oh, that's very deep. I like it. So that's about, maybe finding some good food among other things. How about you? Maybe some good drinks, correct? To stay calm?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing that I do is I remind my teams that we get paid to solve problems, right? So if we didn't have any problems to solve, we wouldn't have jobs, or you wouldn't get paid as much. So in a funny way, problems are good overall. And then secondly, which was very similar to the previous comment, you can only control what you can control, right? So things will often go wrong, and that's okay. The most important thing is to recognize this. So the culture that I like to breed is you won't get judged if something goes wrong. You get judged on your ability to flag it quickly and then to mobilize the teams in order to actually fix the problem that actually comes up. And then thirdly, the big thing and the big belief that I have is I'm a big believer in the power of energy. So for me, when I wake up in the morning and when we all wake up in the morning, you've got a decision to make. And the decision is, am I going to be an energy giver or am I going to be an energy sucker? And the difference it makes, no matter what adversity you're facing, that if you're an energy giver, good energy feeds good energy, and bad energy feeds bad energy. So I'll give you an example. If I had a bad day at work and I came home and I walked in and I opened the door and I kicked our cat. We don't have a cat, but if I kicked the cat and my wife said, "How was your day?" I said, "It was awful, honey." How do you think the conversation's going to go that night? It's not going to go very well, right? But instead, if you recenter yourself, you go in and basically your wife says, "How was your day?" or your husband. And you say, "It was okay, goods and bads, but overall it was okay, and how was yours, honey?" It's a much better conversation. And that's exactly the same also in the office. So for me, I'm a firm believer in the power of a smile. I'm a firm believer in the power of energy because that naturally lifts the mood overall. and the recognition that problems do exist and they're good because that's actually what we get paid for.
And what you say, yes, yeah, that resonates with all of you. Great. And the beginning part of what you say, Greg, reminds me of a proverb, which I believe comes from Japan, and correct me if I'm wrong. So resilience is not about never falling down. It's about falling down 7 times and getting up 8 times, every time, and getting better every time. So I think that's really, is a very powerful message to have, right? So the audience, the cocktail is shaping up. We are more than halfway now. So let's try to add some of the top notes to our cocktails. Next, how about adding some fragrance? Yes? Okay. So flexibility is very important in the BANI world, as you have heard from all the sharing, right? In mindset, in how you respond to things. And us, leaders, Kunal, is us as well, as you say, also have had to adapt. It's not just about our teams. It's not just about our employees. It's not just about our organization. It's about us, because we make up the organization. So how have you seen your leadership style change over time as you navigate in these uncertain times with a longer perspective in view? So with this, maybe I will start again from this side, since you've been looking at me, Kunal. Sure. Yes, how about, yes.
So I think if you talk about the change of leadership, I think what COVID taught everybody is just resilience. I'm just going to call out gratitude to Vietnamese people recently, Yagi. When on my first trip to Hanoi, it was, and Ms. Than was there as well, it was bad, but that was resilience of people. Every single moment we were hearing stories of how people are helping people, and there were videos around it. So I think when you're talking about cocktail and you're talking about leadership, I think one thing that's common is change, and change will not stop. I love the comment Craig spoke about. We would not have jobs if we are not solving for anything. And I can talk about LinkedIn a little bit here. As an organization, I head sales across the region, and we have reorganized our entire go-to-market strategy. We have reorganized how our people will be talking to people, how we'll be solving for the client. It's not a product sell. And when I'm saying this, I'm assuming a lot of you leaders would have done the same. But it requires a change. And I would say how it started from a leadership standpoint is a great clarity of purpose of where we are going. No organization will become flexible to one or two or a group of people. Organizations have clear motive, what they want to do, what they want to achieve. It's always top line. Obviously, there are things to take care of people. But the fact that resilience builds in, and I think that's the biggest ingredient in today's world. If people are not resilient, and I say, if you don't change, you will be changed. And I'm seeing this within the organization, and I've seen it with my clients. Organization who is not rising up to the opportunity, or leaders who are not rising up to the opportunity and are just surviving will obviously in a long run not be productive for an organization, and the organization will not be productive. So I think that's one. And the second thing I think is more about diversity and inclusion. How, and again, Craig spoke about it, but we call it unconscious bias. At times when we hire people who we like to be with because they're very similar. So it's always good to self-reflect 90% of the times and build an organization wherein diversity prevails. And I love that example wherein the top leader speaks at the last end. People at the staff level, so to say, are able to share their views. So I think these are the two ingredients I see very powerful in building organizations.
Yes. So I understand that, your point is about the what will not change, because the purpose would always be there. But the how, we as leaders, we need to take ownership and maybe flex our styles. And then over time, we realize that problems are too complex to be solved by any one individual. So inclusivity, becoming inclusive and celebrating diversity are very important. In addition to flexibility, to thrive in BANI. Wow, thank you, Kunal. That's a great sharing. So, chị Huệ, since we're on this side, anything you want to add?
I have two things to share. The first thing about, for a long time, we have the IQ. And then have one period, we talk a lot about the EQ. And during the COVID, the new thing everyone have to commit, this is the PHQ, physical quotient. Because as Ms. Tan already shared, this is a kind of tripod. The tripod only as strong as the quickest. The quickest access will collapse on that thing. So if during the COVID, we already know that if we don't have the physical resilience, everything will cannot be used. So for the physical, this one is the pathway to make the mental resilient. Because if we have the physical, mentally we have already trained during the time. We have the marathon for the career. But if you run a real marathon in your life, the marathon in career will become very easy. So running a marathon will prepare you daily for the mental, and endorphin also support you every day. So if you want to be happy, to be mentally strong, you have to be mentally fit. And that's the one thing. And the second thing is about the energy management, because now everyone say chữa lành, chữa lành. So it means if we are the leaders, we create the energy, the positive energy, and we create a very good atmosphere, because when the staff come, they will look at your face, your behavior, and they can guess, is it time to ask for a permission or for some fun? So create a positive energy, and this one will be the very important. So physically fit, mentally fit, run a real marathon.
So, yes, thank you. That really reminds us of, the work-life imbalance issue that comes up earlier for a lot of leaders. And really, I fully agree with you. Nowadays, it's not so much about managing time, but it's about managing energy. Because if you have the right energy, you can do a lot, even if you have limited time. And thank you also for the kind reminder to take care of our health. We want to be flexible, we want to do many things, but we can do nothing if we are not healthy. So thank you, chị Huệ, and I would really love that, if that's your leadership style. Thank you for sharing. So now as our cocktail is shaping up, we are coming to the end, and I know you are waiting to taste what the cocktails that you have made. But before we leave the bar, I have two final questions to ask. Friends? Yes. So let's get creative here now as we're finishing the cocktail. If you could compare your experience of leadership over the past 3 years to a cocktail, how would it taste for you? Would it be sweet? Would it be bitter? Or maybe bittersweet? Or maybe it would be spicy? So let's start first with Mr. Craig, who looks very thoughtful, finding the right cocktail.
I wasn't ready for that one, but that's okay. So for me, the ingredients and the flavors that I would have for me in terms of the cocktail is definitely spicy, right? And the reason why is if you have a look, we always compared back to the old normal, right, with 2019, kind of before COVID. And then you always compared that's kind of when life was normal, everything was normal, everything was normal. And I think kind of what's happened over the last 3 years, we've been burnt a little bit by that. And the reason why we've been burnt by that, and it's been a bit spicy, is that the world has actually changed dramatically, and we've all changed because of COVID. And therefore, actually comparing back to pre-COVID is very, very dangerous, right? And I think where everybody's gotten to in terms of with the acceptance is that the new normal is the new normal, and the world is different, and it has changed, and therefore you need to accept it and enjoy the spice.
But spicy is also a very strong taste, and it represents a jump start in a positive manner, that you were in a state and then something get really spicy, and suddenly you wake up in a very good way and you enter a new phase. So maybe spicy for you has a little bit of that rebirth and re-energizing impact as well. And I understand COVID and everything has been a long, long journey. So thank you for sharing that very authentically. Kunal, how about you? What's the taste?
I was just thinking of a cocktail that reminds me. It's called the Jungle Bird, if I'm not wrong. It's a mix of sweet, salty, and spicy.
Singapore sling?
Sorry?
No? Singapore sling for you?
No, Jungle
No.
Bird. And I want to touch upon, since you talk about cocktail, how many people in the room really like cocktails? Can you just show a hand?
Of course.
And why do we like cocktail? Cocktail, as Alexis has been repeating the ingredients, it is a mixture of a lot of things. And that's life, that's work, and that's what we do. And that's why it keeps on changing. Probably there are different cocktails, why we try different times. I think over the last 3 years, I think it would be a bittersweet and sweet as a flavor that emerged, because if you are solving for something, that means it's not a failure. You're just learning to get better day by day, and the resilience that you show as people, as organizations to be productive, that's what leads to the sweetness in the end. So I think every cocktail, even if it's spicy, as Craig said, will leave a very sweet taste in your mouth. And that's why I say, when I was using the word AI, I don't want to abuse the word, but I just want to say one thing. Year 2000, we were talking about digitalization. Everybody was talking about digitalization, which is a normal world that we're living in now. And we are talking about AI today. 10 years down the line, this is going to be normal, and something else will come up. That's why I think a cocktail is the best example of this session today. You have to mix it up in terms of seeing how your people are changing, how your organizations are changing, and yeah.
Yeah. So regardless of what taste the cocktail might start with, it always ends on a sweet note. So if we work hard, we keep going, the results would always come, right? Wow, that's very deep. Thank you, Kunal. I love that. Now, Anh Hà, I know you want to say, but you are not going to say anything yet. I want to ask you her first, yes? And we'll come to you. Thank you, Anh.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the girls, we always say we like the sweet, but actually we eat the sour. So I would like to put the sour. That is the thing, and this also one of the reasons the girl likes sour. And one more thing, the reason for the sour is, I remember one quote. If I ask for strength, the God give me challenges to make me strong. If I ask for wisdom, the God give me the problem to solve. And as Craig already shared, we also paid for the problem to solve.
So for you, sour is the way to sweetness, right? It's always like, as you say, we ask for solution, but here comes the problem, and solution will come. So sour is the way to sweetness.
Yeah.
Wow.
To make you strong.
To make you strong. Anh Hà, now I'm curious, what would be the taste for you?
Lay's is very famous for flavor.
Salty?
So,
No.
and the flavor I like the most is actually it's classic, original.
Ah.
Yeah, because it's like being yourself, being authentic to the people. And I think we are, as a company, we are trying to promote a person-to-person relationship, because in the working environment, normally, you know your college as a college, but you don't know your college as a person. But if you can know your college as a person, it will help a lot in the working environment. Because normally so we are trying to, let's say, minimize the role to role, because you know your college as a marketing person, or as a finance person, as an HR person, or as a manufacturing person. But once you spend time, understand your college, not by role, but as a human, I think things will start changing. So that's my advice.
So spicy, let's spice things up. Get to know people, get connected. That's your message, right, Anh Hà? Wow, that's great. Thank you. So we are now at the end. And before we enjoy the cocktail, you have a chance to make it even better. So if you can add only one new flavor to the cocktail to make the leadership experience a little bit easier or even enjoyable, what would that be for you? So, I'll start from this side first, right? You hang on. So, chị Huệ, what would be the new flavor that you would like to add to make it even better?
Would be combined with salt.
Salt to balance things out, right? So salt is a little bit about going deeper and balancing things out.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we have in Vietnam, when we eat fruit, we often eat together with the salt to make it more sweet. So don't worry about the sour, or don't worry about the salt. Make your life more interesting.
Thank you, chị. And I really love eating fruits with salt as well.
But I'm a little bit worried because today we talk a lot about problem, and every speaker talk about different problem. So I'm wondering whether we make the anxiety more complicated.
You're talking a lot about solutions as well, remember, and the right mindset and staying healthy. So I'm sure the audience would enjoy the cocktail that you're making. Thank you, chị. So salt for you. How about you, Kunal?
Not an actual ingredient, but I'll put it in this cocktail, which is, if there is a problem, there's a solution. How do you get to solution? When your people are equipped to solve for that problem, and that requires you to upskill. And that's what you need to do. And I would leave this thought for a cocktail for your organizations is, invest in your people, make them relevant. 90% of your workforce doesn't change. But the jobs will change, your clients will change, the business will change. So it's time to, in your cocktail, invest in your people and just make them more upskilled in the jobs that they will do for future.
People are always important. We talk about cocktail, but if none of us are here, there's no cocktails, right? So thank you for that. How about you, Anh Hà? What would that be for you, that new flavor?
New flavor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I think I will go for the nori seaweed, which is our also top flavor. No, because I think it's a flexibility. It's under the sea, it's growing together with the water, and that's what we need in this BANI world, right? The flexibility, the improvise. When things change, you should be able to flexible enough to change, but still keeping your principle and work with each other as a person to person.
Wow. Maybe I would look forward to maybe some seaweed syrup from PepsiCo Food for a seaweed cocktail coming up shortly. Closing up everything, correct? How about your new flavor?
Sure. So for me, I'm not going to talk about a specific flavor. For me, I'll talk about the quality of the ingredients. Because if you put poor quality ingredients in, you're going to get a poor outcome. So for me, the cocktail needs to be made with the best ingredients, and that's making sure that you take on the best challenges, you have the best training, you surround yourself with the best people in order to make sure that you can then make it and solve those problems. And for me, sort of the saying that I like to say internally is, we sell beer, we don't save lives. So take a risk. What's the worst that can happen? And go for it, right? With high-quality ingredients surrounded by high-quality people. Thanks.
Oh, so it's really, you remind us of a very important thing. It's not just the taste, but the quality and the quantity of what you put into the cocktail.
And it's got to be strong.
Important, yes. So, you know, on that note, for me, the key takeaway is there is no bad taste. Every taste has a role to play. And the key thing here about leadership is really about balancing the different tastes. Keep on investing in the best quality and quantity of the ingredients here, which is your people and your organization, and taking care of your health. And then we keep going. And then the best cocktail will come. And then sweetness would await you at the end of the journey. So with that, I'm glad to announce that our On to the BANI World cocktail is now complete. Low on sugar and high on resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, let's enjoy the cocktails together. Yes. Yes? We have real cocktails. I'm not joking, yes? for your attention. We hope you enjoy the session. And we wish you all the best as you go back to your organization and your team and start making the best cocktail ever. Cheers!
Yes. Yes.
Cheers! Yes. Cảm ơn anh.
Yes. Okay. Exactly.
Xin được mời bà Thanh Nguyễn, giám đốc điều hành và truyền cảm hứng hạnh phúc của Alpha B, hãy tiến lên sân khấu để trao hoa và quà lưu niệm đến các vị diễn giả của chúng ta. Our distinguished speaker, please remaining on stage.